Well, hello and thanks to you all for tuning in once again, and it's a very warm welcome back to Classic Dirt Bike TV. Now, next up is the first of 3 videos I'll be showcasing, showing some of my archive racing footage from the last 15 years of the legendary Nostalgia Scramble. Now, this event, of course, was held at Holme Farm in Sedbergh in Cumbria in the UK from 2003 right up until its eventual finishing in 2017. So without any further delay, let's get right into the video and begin with racing from the 2009 Nostalgia event. And this very first piece of action is the pre-1965s over 350cc, which was run on the weekend of the 23rd of August in that year. And so as the racing action gets underway, as you can see, another damp and very dismal August weekend here at Middleton in Cumbria, but it wouldn't be called scrambling, of course, would it, if it was always dry and dusty. So this is, of course, the pre-1965s over 350cc class, and we are currently looking at our early race leader. It's number 96, that's Tim Manton. Tim Manton, of course, riding that big 500cc Wasp Jawa, the Rind-Tut Wasp frame with the big 500cc Jawa motor in the chassis. A very quick bike and a very talented rider, Tim Manton. Second position there is number 1, that's Terry Challoner, who is a multiple British Classic Scrambles champion. And we'll just try and pick up 1 or 2 of the riders as they make their way through. It's quite hard with all the mud flying around, but nevertheless we'll try and pick up a few names for you. But over the many years I've been visiting this Nostalgia Scramble, I've seen some fantastic races with Tim Manton here, number 96, racing against Terry Challoner, and I've seen some fantastic battles between these two at this fantastic Holme Farm venue. So there is your race leader, number 96, Tim Manton. Second position just coming through there is number 1, Terry Challoner, who's riding that 650 Triumph Matisse. And it looks like in third position here is number 108, I think that's Ricky Pedder from Polesworth, and as you can see, the rain absolutely teeming down now here at Holme Farm. It was not always wet at this event, but we have had a few really wet scrambles here in the past, and if you get the weather here at this Holme Farm event, it's a very nice relaxing weekend of racing, but unfortunately on this particular day it's absolutely lashing with some nice British summer rain. So we're looking at our race leader, number 96, Tim Manton, riding that what I think is a methanol fueled 500 Jawa motor, and of course that Rind-Tut Wasp frame, a very rare bike indeed, and a very quick machine, as you can see, and just seems to be absolutely reveling in these wet and sticky conditions here at Holme Farm. But this Nostalgia event always drew very big crowds each year to this race meeting to see many of the UK's biggest vintage racing motocross stars, and the chances are that if these guys raced professionally back in the 1950s and 60s, then they most probably have taken part in this Nostalgia Scramble event at one time or another. Nevertheless, it looks like Tim Manton now has quite a substantial lead over this man here in second position, number 1, Terry Challoner, who is of course riding that lovely 650 Triumph Matisse. And Terry, of course, is an absolute legend in British scrambling circles, and has been British champion many times riding these old Triumph Matisses, but a very quick rider indeed. But as our race leader heads towards the checkered flag on his last and final lap, it looks like it's going to be a very good win by number 96, Tim Manton, on that nice 500 Jawa. It looks like Terry Challoner is still going to take that second position, but as he comes to cross the line, it's the first win of the day for number 96, Tim Manton. Okay, next up, more archive footage from the 2013 Nostalgia event, and thankfully the weather this time was a little bit kinder to the spectators and racers, and so we'll just get things underway with the pre-1960s class as they line up and get ready to leave the line. So hopefully we'll get some good racing from these guys in this pre-1960s class. And it's a good start off the line by Peter Hollinshead, riding a very quick SRM BSA. Steve Dent also looks like he's made a good start in second position, while the track here at Holme Farm is in absolutely perfect condition for this 2013 Nostalgia event. So as we look to the far side of the track, there is your race leader, number 454. That's Peter Hollinshead on the SRM BSA. Second is looks like Steve Dent in second position. Third there is number 9. That looks like Lewis Bell from Scotland. Now, although the conditions were slightly better at this 2013 Nostalgia Scramble, it was still blowing a gale on the day, and but nevertheless we could cope with that. Here is your race leader. It's number 454, Peter Hollinshead. Second is still looks like Steve Dent. Number 9 is Lewis Bell from Scotland. Number 121 just going through there is Peter Jackson on that 500 BSA. But a very good collection of talented riders and very nice bikes in this pre-1960s class. So here is your race leader, number 454, Peter Hollinshead on that twin-cylinder SRM BSA machine. Now this BSA of Peter's is his most favoured race bike, although Peter does have a very nice collection of original CCM machines in his motorcycle collection, and hopefully in the months to come we'll maybe feature more of Peter's CCM bikes here on my YouTube channel. But it's still been a very good start by Peter in this pre-1960s class, and has led thus far straight from the starting gate. So as the rest of the riders make their way through, number 158 is Rob Griffiths there on the 480 Jap BSA. That's of course a Jap engine with the BSA frame. But it's still Peter Hollinshead, number 454, your race leader, as the rest of the chasing pack make their way through. And number 115 there, that's Chris Myers on his 640 BSA machine. But it's still been a fantastic start and a good race by this man here, number 454, Peter Hollinshead, who is stretching his lead ever so slightly on second place man, which was Steve Dent. A very quick bike, this SRM twin cylinder BSA machine. But Peter's looking very good for a win in this pre-1960s class. Number 121 there again is Peter Jackson on the 500 BSA. Peter always likes to make a point of attending this nostalgia event, as of course many of the other riders do. It's such a popular race event for these old classic scramblers. Now number 146 there, that's Peter Lockwood riding a 500 Matchless. Okay, next up we are staying with the 2013 Nostalgia event, and this is the pre-1968 up to 350cc class, and it's a very good start by Steve Dent, number 585, and Andy Cam, number 43 on that little 250 BSA. Looks like we've got a faller into turn 2, but he looks perfectly fine. So we're just going to pick up our race leader once again. It's number 585, that's Steve Dent, riding that 350 Faber BSA, the Faber frame with the 350 BSA motor. Number 43 coming towards us there is Andy Cam. In third position's number 12, that's Barry McKee, also riding a 350 BSA. Looks like number 647, that's Adam Purdom, has a problem with his 350 BSA. It looks like it's a terminal end of race event for Adam. Although as the riders begin lap 2, it's still number 585 Steve Dent, your race leader, from second man, number 43 Andy Cam. Third is this man here, number 12 Barry McKee on the 350 BSA. Barry actually changed the engine on this bike in the years to come and slotted this motor into a 2-stroke CZ frame, which was quite an unusual combination. But here is your race leader, Steve Dent, who is riding very well here in the perfect conditions at the 2013 Nostalgia event. Andy Cam is in second on his BSA. Barry McKee is still in there in third. But the racing conditions here at the 2013 event is near perfect, which makes a change from some of the very wet meetings that we've had here at the Nostalgia in the past. Now number 43 there, Andy Cam, looks like he's closing in on race leader Steve Dent, so this could be a very good race towards the checkered flag, but it's still Steve Dent, your race leader. Second, Andy Cam, who still appears to be closing in on our race leader Steve Dent, so look out for a good battle to the finish line between these two riders. But this Holme Farm racing venue is a perfect place to watch these vintage bikes in action, as many of the spectators areas are all elevated, so there's not really much of the track that a spectator doesn't see. So as you can see, number 43 Andy Cam is now taking the lead from number 585, that's Steve Dent on the Faber BSA. So it's Andy Cam, your new race leader, but Steve Dent has gone wide and appears to have a very good drive up that hill, and it looks like Steve is going to stick his bike down the inside, but can he make the turn? Andy Cam seems to have turned quicker, but a very good battle developing between these two as they head towards the checkered flag. Although we still have at least another lap and a half to go to conclude this pre-1968 class race. So as our riders head towards the finish line to begin their last and final lap of this pre-1968 up to 350cc class race, it's still Steve Dent, your race leader. Second is number 43 Andy Cam. Third is Barry McKee, number 12. So as they cross the line to begin the last and final lap, it looks like a very good race developing as these three head towards the checkered flag. So it's still number 585 Steve Dent on that 350 Faber BSA, your race leader, followed closely behind by number 43 Andy Cam, also riding a BSA. So there's about half a lap to go to the conclusion of this pre-68 up to 350cc class race, and it's still Steve Dent leads this man here, number 43 Andy Cam. Barry McKee is still in there in third position. But it looks like it's going to be a good race towards the checkered flag as these two make their way round the last few turns. But it's still Steve Dent, your race leader, holding off number 43 Andy Cam. But as they make the last and final turn, it's going to be a win for Steve Dent, with Andy Cam in second and Barry McKee in third. Okay, we're staying with the 2013 race event, and we are now into the pre-1968 class over 350cc. Basically, these are the big bore open class vintage race bikes. A very good collection of machines in this race. So as the riders make their way around to begin lap 1, we'll try and pick up a few of the riders as they come into shot. And as you can see, the weather is almost perfect here at Holme Farm for this type of classic scrambling. So as the riders make their way up the hill, we'll try and pick up our race leader. Now the rider in yellow there, treble 1, I think is Gareth Challoner, who I'm assuming is related to the racing legend Terry Challoner, who we saw racing earlier, and as you can see, it runs in the family of talented motorcycle racers. So as the rest of the riders make their way through, number 121 going through there, that's the famous Alan Arnott, good racer and a very good classic bike builder. So we pick up our race leaders once again. It's still treble 1. It's Gareth Challoner, your race leader, and just going through there in second position, number 594. I'm sure that's Carol Pope, with number 264. That's young Chris Chell in third position on that 500 BSA. Some very quick riders, these three riders, but Chris Chell looks like he's made a move up into that second position. So it's still Gareth Challoner, your race leader. Second is now 264 Chris Chell, and in third place it's Carol Pope. But already there's a very good race developing between these front three riders. It looks like Liston Bell is just going through there in fourth position, but it looks like Carol Pope has dropped his machine on one of the corners, but doesn't appear to have lost more than one track position. But it looks like Gareth Challoner is now coming under pressure from the youngster Chris Chell on that very quick 500 BSA machine as they head towards the bottom section of the track. And that particular pond that you see in the background there is not actually a pond at all, but that's just an indication of the rainfall that this track's had in the weeks previous to this event. So here is your new race leader, number 264. It's Chris Chell on the 500 BSA, now leads Gareth Challoner in second position. Now Chris Chell, of course, is just one of the many family members who race these old classic motorcycles. Third position now is looks like number 98. That's Liston Bell, who is in third. Carol Pope looks like he's now in fourth or fifth position. Although we always have a very nice array of classic racing here at Holme Farm, with classes from the pre-1960s bikes right up to the relatively modern bikes of the Twinshock class from the 1980s. And so as we look to pick up our race leader as he heads towards the checkered flag, it looks like it's going to be a win for number 264, Chris Chell, on that 500 BSA. Chris appears to have a very good lead over second place man Gareth Challoner, who of course led this race early on, but Gareth is still going to do quite well, taking a second place position. That number 58 there is Scott Maxwell, riding a very nice and very quick big matchless machine. So as he comes to cross the line, that's the finish of the pre-1968 over 350 cc class. Okay, next up we're going to go back to 2009 to a very wet and windy pre-1975 over 250cc class race, and as the riders leave the line, it's a good start by racing legend Andy Robertson on that BSA, but Keith Barnes, number 156, has made an excellent start on that 1975 CCM. Number 41 is John Mitchell on the 400 Mico. And as you can see, this was another particularly wet and wily weekend here at the 2009 Nostalgia Scramble. So we're looking at number 03, that's the famous Andy Robertson, being chased by number 156, that's Keith Barnes on that 1975 CCM bike. Very quick machine, a very talented rider, Keith, who momentarily just stole the lead from Andy Robertson. Now these type of racing conditions will no doubt bring back memories for many of my YouTubers who used to watch the BBC Grandstand Winter Motocross series on TV back in the 1960s, when much of the racing in the winter was filmed under these kind of conditions. But it's still quite hard to imagine that this was the middle of summer in 2009 and in August in particular. So we're looking at number 156, that's Keith Barnes on the CCM, but it's still at number 03, that's Andy Robertson, your race leader. Now third place man is, I think it's number 661, that's Carol Hodgson, riding the 440 Mico. Now can't make out the number very clearly, but I'm quite sure that it is number 661, Carol Hodgson. But what can you say about this man here, Andy Robertson, an absolute legend in motocross in the UK. Andy, of course, rode for CZ back in the day. HIS was another manufacturer that Andy rode for, and he was also a works rider for Cotton at one time. And Andy, in fact, won the Tweezledown Championship in February 1967 at just the age of 18 when he was riding a CZ. So we're looking at second place position rider there, Keith Barnes, on that very quick 1975 CCM Alan Clues racing machine. But Keith always loved racing this CCM bike, and did tell me a while back that selling his beloved CCM was one of the biggest mistakes that he ever made, because he said it was a superb bike to ride, and he always regretted selling it. So it looks like it's going to be a win for Andy Robertson as he comes up to cross the finish line, and it looks like a very deserved win for the BSA rider. Okay, we're going to stay with the 2009 Nostalgia event, and next up we have the first of the Twinshock classes. This of course is the Twinshock Pirates. Two classes here, of course, for Twinshock bikes. These machines from around the 1980s. These are the Pirates, and the other class, of course, are the Bandits. as they head up the hill to begin lap 1. It looks like your race leader is number 99. I think that's Terry Kennedy, riding that 490 Michael. As you can see, the conditions just about on the limit here for these old race bikes, but nevertheless we are still going to make a good race of it. Looks like Ian Charlton has just gone through on the CCM, but a nice good collection of these Twinshock bikes for this first Pirates race. So we're looking at our race leader, number 99, Terry Kennedy, riding a Michael. Terry, of course, also rides a very unique Rotaco, which is a combination of the Michael chassis with the big 500cc Armstrong Rotax motor inside. We're looking at number 38 there. That's Ian Charlton, riding a CCM, of course. Ian and his son Richard both ride these Alan Clues CCM bikes, and Ian is another one of the legends of these CCM bikes. So as Terry Kennedy just goes through to complete another lap, looks like Ian Charlton has a problem with his CCM bike, but Terry Kennedy looking good in these very difficult conditions at this 2009 Nostalgia Scramble event. But Big Michael just still seems to be coping quite well with the very slippy conditions. But of course, for me personally, these were the kind of conditions I absolutely hated riding in back in the day. I mean, it was bad enough when the weather was bone dry, but when it came to these wet and sticky conditions, I'd probably be better just leaving the bike in the transporter. Now number 276 there, that's Ian Mullings, riding the 250 Yamaha. Ian, of course, from Preston, trying to make his way round in these very sticky conditions here at Holme Farm. As you can see, a couple of the riders have already said enough is enough. But nevertheless, Terry Kennedy is still doing well here in pole position on the 490 Michael. Terry, of course, has led this race from early on. Second position there is at number 12, who is Phil Wadsworth, riding that big 540cc HPF Honda. And you'd think the Honda would be ideally suited to these wet and sticky conditions, but it appears that Terry Kennedy's two-stroke Michael is getting the better of this Phil Wadsworth four-stroke Honda. But it's going to be a win for number 99, that's Terry Kennedy on the 490 Michael, with this man here, number 12, Phil Wadsworth, in second. Okay, to finish off this part 1 of the last 15 years of the Nostalgia Scramble, we're going back to 2008 to take in the Twinshock Pirates race. And as you can see, the weather not just as wet as the 2009 event, as we look at Mark Sylvester, who has a few problems trying to get his 490 Michael fired up. So it looks like we're all good to go as the riders get ready to leave the line. But it's an excellent start by Walter Bickmore from Scotland on the 490 Michael. Richard Charlton has made a good start on the CCM as the riders make their way through turn 2. Now these are essentially some of the cream of the best Twinshock racers in the UK, with some very quick and talented riders in this pack of Twinshock racers. So we are just waiting to pick up our race leader, which is number 5. That's Richard Charlton on the CCM. A very quick and very talented rider, Richard, who is very seldom seen nowadays on Scrambles tracks. Number 40 going through in third place is the great legend Pete Mathia. Callum Sangster going through there. Number 4 is Jim Colligan. Number 61 is of course Robert Brown, the son of Bill Brown, the World Sport man. But it's a good start by Richard Charlton, who is being chased by Walter Bickmore on the 490 Michael. Now, of course, Richard and his father Ian both race these Alan Clues CCM bikes. Very big and powerful machines, these 4-stroke BSA B50 motors. You don't need any brakes at all on these bikes. You just close the throttle when you want to make a turn, and the engine does all the braking that you need, which makes these bikes ideally suited for these tight and twisty racetracks like this one here at Holme Farm. So it's still Richard Charlton, your race leader. Second now is Pete Mathia, number 40. Fourth is Paul Chiappa, just going through. Looks like we've got a faller who was actually in third place. I'm not exactly sure who that rider is, but he appears to be okay. It looks like Walter Bickmore has had a coming together with another rider, and Walter of course was already in third position, but your race leader is still Richard Charlton, number 5, being chased by number 40 Pete Mathia. But of course these CCM bikes, made famous by the late Alan Clues, who started Clues competition machines way back in the early 1970s when he bought over the defunct BSA competition department and took what was basically an old BSA road bike engine and made it into a Scrambles winner. So we're looking at number 40 Pete Mathia on the 490 Michael in second position. Oh, and it looks like Pete's just taking a little spill, but looks like he's kept the bike going and only lost a couple of track positions, but I'm sure that Pete will make those up before the end of the race. So we're looking at number 5 still, Richard Charlton, who has more or less led this race right from the start gate. So your new second place position rider is this man here, number 11. That's Paul Chiappa from Dunfermline in Scotland. Paul has already been about 16 times Scottish Twinshock champion, and certainly knows his way around this Holme Farm racetrack on that very quick 490 Michael. But certainly another one of the UK's racing Twinshock legends. Now number 17 in third place there is Rob Butler. Number 47 is Craig Smith. Pete Mathia already starting to make his way through the pack after his little spill. Number 4 there is Jim Colligan on the Big Michael. So as our race leader begins his penultimate racing lap, it's still number 5, Richard Charlton. And this big CCM certainly looks like it's well hooked up into this Holme Farm race circuit as the rain just begins to fall here once again at Holme Farm. So it's Richard Charlton, your race leader, as he comes round to cross the line to begin his last and final lap. And Richard's father there, Ian, just on the left hand side, encouraging him to pull the throttle back further on that big CCM. Second position is still this man here, number 11, Paul Chiappa. Looks like Craig Smith is now moved up into third position. It could be a good battle between these two Dunfermline riders to the checkered flag. It looks like Callum Sangster has had a little excursion through the track ropes there. So I do hope you enjoyed the racing action from these various nostalgia racing events, and don't forget, look out for more classic racing from the nostalgia's last 15 years coming up soon here on my channel. So it's going to be a win for number 5. That's Richard Charlton on that very quick CCM, with Paul Chiappa taking a second and Craig Smith in third position. Okay, look out for more archive footage coming soon from the Nostalgia Scramble, but before that we'll be taking another look at Mike George's 1965 MX3 250 Greaves Challenger. So once again, thanks very much for watching, and we'll all speak again soon right here on Classic Dirt Bike TV.